Hi everybody. Talent's not quite ready yet. I'm your floor director, Goldie, and I swear this guy's been yelling at me for a really long time. I can't get rid of him, but welcome.
Today, we are going to be talking all about water with plumber and water expert Greg Chick. Thanks for joining us today, Greg.
Hello, good to be here.
Yeah, and I'm going to read you all about Greg before we start here. So, Greg Chick is formally educated in plumbing, solar, irrigation, landscape pools, and water heating. He's dedicated to refining and improving his craft through continuing education, usually through trade associations, manufacturers with emerging products, new technologies, and green products. Greg is Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design accredited professional, LEED AP, Operations and Maintenance, OM, a Certified Water Manager, CWM, and an American Rainwater Catchment Systems Association accredited professional, which is ARCSA AP. So there's all of his many, many titles.
Overcompensating.
But he's a very, very smart fellow. So thank you for coming on, Greg.
Well, it's good to be here. You know, in isolation sometimes it gets lonely. So this is the kind of social community we have at our disposal these days.
Yes, it's all nice to be together. And speaking of organizations, you are a part of the IAPMO. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who they are and what they do?
IAPMO, thank God for acronyms. International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials, IAPMO, IAPMO. IAPMO is who lobbies Congress to get things done for water and plumbing infrastructure. IAPMO writes plumbing codes, and IAPMO tests materials and parts to prove that they either do or do not do what they claim. That's research and testing. IAPMO does many things around the world and in this country. I'm glad to be affiliated, and I'm wearing my IAPMO research and technology shirt right there today. It's the plumbers organization.
That's great. And plumbers are so important. We wanted to talk about Jon Snow. Well, that's the wrong Jon Snow. We got to get to the right Jon Snow.
Sorry.
There we go.
But we wanted to talk about Jon Snow and tell us why Jon Snow, the non-Game of Thrones version, is important.
Jon Snow, back in the 18-somethings, he was an MD in a town in the UK, and the cholera epidemic was killing lots of people. He couldn't figure out why. So what he did was he took a map and he put a pinpoint where everybody was that got this cholera, and then he physically went to the center of that map to see what was at the center. And he found the well. That's the little thing in the picture there. He found the local community well, and he took the handle off the well pump, and nobody could get water, and the cholera went away. And he discovered the health aspects of water and sanitation. So he's the godfather of that.
Man, that's so relatable right now. It's the oldie version of social distancing, but instead it was a water pump.
It was take the handle off and put the mask on.
Flattening the handle.
So it's an epidemic, and if that community was connected with jets and everything else, that community would have had a pandemic.
Yeah, but that kind of Jon Snow's discovery kind of played into the plumbing code and the plumber's credo, and
protect the health and safety of the nation. And I might add that today we really should redo that, say protect the health and safety of the world.
Yeah.
But the credo is officially protect the health and safety of the nation, and that's what plumbers do. And it has been said by very profound people that plumbers actually save more lives than doctors.
Yeah. It's all very preventative, and like, what are some of the things that plumbers and like managing the water system does to keep people safe and healthy that like we as lay people wouldn't know about or take into account?
The list is endless, it seems. But water itself comes from many places, but it's distributed through distribution systems like municipalities or from private wells. And plumbers take it from the water meter to the house or from the well to the house. And from the fixtures in the form of wastewater to the septic tank or to the city sewer. People take it in that collection system of sewage to a macro treatment system, or it just goes to someone's private sewage treatment system in their yard, a septic system. But plumbers are, basically speaking, the people that do the residential and the building part. Then there's the people who work on water mains through distribution through the country and the watershed areas. And those aren't necessarily plumbers, but they work in the plumbing field or in the water industry.
It's a whole system. And there's like a lot of places where that can break down and problems can happen if you don't have the right plumber or the right water manager in place who really understands what they're doing.
There's a study done by IAPMO, and there's some white paper written by a guy named Pete DeMarco, wonderful man I know. It's an honor to know him. He did a white paper on how COVID actually got connected into the human people from the drain, waste, and vent system, referred to as DWV, drain, waste, and vent, which is basically the drainage in a high-rise building where this virus was living. Could have come from bats or vampires or snakes, but it was in the drain system. And the reason we call it drain, waste, and vent is because that's what it does. And in the vent of the drain system, there was an improper connection, and therefore the smell, odor, gas, all that stuff can come out. It did. And it's suspected that this COVID does live in wastewater.
Yeah, and when you sent us that article, we did a little video of it on our channels and kind of compared the article to some concepts in the book. So if people want to see that, it's on our Facebook page, and I don't think it's on our YouTube yet, but we'll put it up there. And that kind of relates to, you've got your own YouTube channel where you share some plumbing tips, and one of your latest videos is about P-traps, which are, you know, a part of plumbing that stops those gases from coming into the house. So I'm going to play a little clip from that for the audience so they can learn a little bit about P-traps.
Whenever you look under a sink to replace a basin or clear a drain, you're going to find a P-trap. This P-trap is essential. It traps water by having this little J-bend here where the water settles in there and it stays in there. That prevents the gases from coming out of the building drain into your house. As a bonus, any wedding ring or other valuable jewelry or coins that falls down the drain is going to be trapped right down in here, and you're going to be able to retrieve it when you disassemble the trap.
And that's what the purpose of a P-trap is to trap the sewer gases, the viruses and the bacteria and all that bad stuff. Methane gas, which is explosive. Every sink fixture has a P-trap. Every toilet has a P-trap. It's built into the toilet. Showers have P-traps underneath the floor, and tubs have P-traps underneath the floor. Laundry sinks have P-traps. Washing machines that waste into the wall go into a P-trap. The P-trap is essential in the drain, waste, and vent system to keep the sewer gases, odorless ones and ones with odor, away from the people and trapped inside the drain, waste, and vent system. And that, if that trap is not there, we could see SARS or MERS or COVID.
Yeah, and that was one of the things in the white papers, that people were disconnecting some vent pipes and not taking care of some of those P-traps and things, and it was allowing gases into high-rise buildings, which was potentially spreading it was the SARS epidemic that they thought that was happening during COVID.
Right, well, SARS is just another coronavirus.
Yeah,
MERS is just another coronavirus. What we have is another coronavirus. But yeah, people thought that they could just drill a hole in a drain pipe and waste water into it and everything was fine. And even if what they're wasting into it is fish blood from a scullery sink, as if that isn't deadly because they're going to eat it, so who cares? Well, it's drain waste and vent system, which shares with
Yeah.
toilets, you name it.
And it's all connected. You're not just necessarily affecting your own unit, but if you live in something that connects to other people, you're potentially...
And then there's the other people in that building. And then there's as well the HVAC system, the heating and ventilating and cooling, air conditioning, which creates air pressure with fans that move air through the building. That creates positive and negative pressures, which can suck gas out of the drain waste and vent system throughout the building. And that's how the Legionnaire's disease was found, created, and coined.
And what's an easy way that people can kind of take care of P-traps and make sure that these gases aren't being released into their homes?
Thanks for asking that, because right now that is so germane. What if right now people say, well, how does this concern me? Well, one, do you visit a house that might be for sale that hasn't had anyone in it for a while and a P-trap?
Uh-oh.
Oh. Seems like we might have lost Greg.
Well, while she does that, I'll tell you, Greg has told us that it's really important.
He's back. Welcome back, Greg.
Must have been an epidemic of some kind. But what I was saying is the plumbing system just needs to be respected to keep the gases on the dirty side and us on the clean side. And that's the plumber's job, is to do this to code, and the codes are written to protect the health and safety of the nation, to separate that waste from the fresh air. And a lot of people think that they can just, go into a building that's not been inhabited for a week or a month or a year and turn on the shower head, and it spits water out, and inside that pipe is stale water, which the chlorine has expired. The bacteria have grown, reestablished and grown. They become aerosolized by the shower head and the air spitting. Like if you turn off the water to your house and then turn it back on, there's air in the pipes, and it does that little spitting thing.
Yeah.
That's atomization of bacteria and viruses. So right now, with people not being in their houses, a couple things could occur. One, P-traps could evaporate. P-traps could evaporate in a workplace that nobody's been for a month or two. The sewer gases can come out. You name it, can come out of that P-trap, which is evaporated, no longer trapping. The stale water in the pipe could create Legionella bacteria, to give you what's called the Legionnaire's disease. And those are all types of severe acute respiratory diseases.
Yeah, because all of these different pipes and systems are meant to be used kind of continuously, or at least regularly. So if they sit for a while, it can cause these problems. So when it goes airborne, like if you go to your cabin after not being there for a while and turn on the shower, what can you do to protect yourself from what's been sitting in the pipes?
Well, I'll say this loosely because I'm not a microbiologist and I'm a plumber that's aware of the issue, so we can bring it up and talk about it. Personally, I would close the shower door, turn on the shower head, inward away from my house, hold my breath, turn the valve on, close the door, and come back in 30 seconds. And open a window, because you don't want that stale water that is probably likely containing Legionella. You don't want to inhale that.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a strong respiratory system, maybe it's not going to bother you. And if you don't have a strong respiratory system, like with the COVID thing, it's hurting people with comorbidity, it's called. They have other conditions. That's a problem. So it could be a cabin, it could be an RV, it could be the hall bath that you never use. Sally's been off to college for all year. She's back for the summer vacation, or she's back here for Christmas. It hasn't been used since last Christmas. The P-traps have evaporated. The pipes, the water pipes inside, have not had the water circulating through them, even though the house has had water circulating. Those arms of those water pipes are dead.
Yeah.
The plumbing code I have defines that as about 30 inches or longer. So let's say the hallway is where it is, and 30 inches over is the shower in the bathroom. Don't use that shower for 3 months. You've got bacteria in your water.
Yeah, and you said that the Legionella or Legionnaires, that kind of creates a pneumonia-like reaction in people and was mistaken for pneumonia or some sort of a respiratory disease for a while.
For decades, people have died of pneumonia, and I put air quotes.
Yeah.
When the CDC is prompting hospitals to start testing for Legionnaires, and lo and behold, wow, we now have a new line item to put all these deaths to. We were testing for Legionnaires. It looks just like pneumonia. So, but now that there's attention on COVID-19, now that there's attention on a lot of things, the plumbing industry is trying to bring about not only health and safety, but education to how to help bring that about.
That's good. It's always good to know what's in your water because there are all sorts of things. And now you might have mentioned that there are some other things like, for example, maybe shellfish that are living in our...
Yes. This is what I call one of my OMGs. Oh my God. There is a condition, a vermin, an intruder, called quagga mussel. And it's a shellfish. And it came from Europe, and it came across the Atlantic, through to the Great Lakes, into the Great Lakes, and somehow made its way from Lake Superior or something, into a water distribution system, which then shared water and boats, and then the boats were in the lake, and then the boats went to other lakes, and from one lake to another, this quagga mussel thrived in an ideal condition, which was better than where it was originally living and developed, and it became an invasive species. And what a quagga mussel is a shellfish. And they grow inside water distribution pipes.
Uh-oh.
So when I was touring the water treatment plant up in Parker, which is by Las Vegas, there was this big reservoir, and there was this big machine, and the machine was called a pig. And the pig is about a 6-foot diameter machine with grinder wheels on it. They send it through the pipes, and it grinds the quagga mussels off the wall and pushes them out. And then this skip loader picks up all the shells and puts them into piles. And there's all these piles of these quagga mussel shells on the ground.
Oh my goodness.
OMG, oh my God. Then there's also the zebra mussel variety. So you not only have quaggas, but you have zebras in your water. And these are invasive shellfish living in freshwater systems, and chlorine does not kill them.
So it's almost, you could call it a clamdemic. I mean, I know they're not clams, they're mussels, but...
That's huge. A clamdemic.
The clamdemic, they're spreading.
Well, one time, actually, it was. And if you travel from state to state, most states have at the borders a place to ask you, are you smuggling an immigrant?
Yeah.
Are you smuggling, you have a boat, we have to see it. And what they do is they go out to your boat, they scrape the sides down, they look at it with a microscope or magnifying glass, and what they're looking for is zebra and quagga mussels on the side of your boat, because they don't want you to take your boat, stick it in the lake, and that lake is used as a water reservoir, and the beach goes on.
They're just some tiny little stowaways.
Yes, and they're all over the place, and it's an OMG, but you can Google it.
That is so interesting. And
water is fascinating. I'm just endlessly entertained by it and intrigued by it, so I study it and I like to share.
Yeah. And one of the most fascinating things that I had never heard about before we worked on this book with you is air water gathering. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how that might be one of the water technologies of the future?
Yeah, air water gathering or air water generators, depending if you're talking about the act or the product, AWG, Um, there are countries or regions in Africa, West Africa, I believe, where they don't have any rivers. It doesn't rain, so they get their water from the air. This moisture in the air condensates on leaves, and they harvest it, and that's air water gathering. And this has been done for thousands of
Forever,
years.
yeah.
But there's other places where air water gathering is an annoyance. Like there's places, coastal areas, where the condensation drips and stuff on the roof, and it goes down the rain spouts and drips, and they have the rain spouts go onto the sidewalk, and the sidewalks for moss.
Oh.
And they all condensate and then drip onto the roof, but then the roof drains over to the rain downspout. And like in La Jolla, at the University Town Center, they have the downspout going onto the sidewalk. And there's moss growing on the sidewalks. It's condensated air, water from the air, which incidentally, here's an OMG, there's more water in the atmosphere around the earth than there is in all the lakes and rivers, by virtue of volume and by virtue of the warm air holds more water than cold air. So all this moisture in the air just blows around, and then when the weather causes high pressures, it condensates and rains. But that's air water gathering, is in a sense.
And theoretically, as the temperatures keep rising, as they've been doing recently, that means that we've got more water held in the air instead of being in liquid form, right?
Well, that answers both questions. You say, well, how can we be having less rain because it's dry and drought, but then we don't have less rain, we have more because it's flooding? Well, the warm air will hold more water. Therefore, it does. As it does hold more, it doesn't rain as often. But when it does, it pours.
It really does.
Like, the Southern California. So, when the air is warmer, it holds more, therefore it rains less, yet more. So, it's a little bit confusing, but not really. If you understand that the warm air holds more moisture, that answers the confusion, the quagmire.
Yeah. Just lean into that old idiom, when it rains, it pours. Like, it doesn't rain all that often, but when it does, it just all comes out.
Right, and air water gathering is something that is a market now. There are air water generators being built so large that they fit on the back of a semi.
Oh, wow.
And when there's hurricanes and tornadoes and other natural disasters, the first thing that's gone is drinkable water. It's all contaminated. The sewers flowed into the freshwater pipes. It's a mess. So the first thing that has to get there are the helicopters, the newscast, and the fresh water. And so air water generators are being brought in that can actually generate 1 million gallons a day.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you can buy an air water generator, but you better do it for love, because they're expensive, and you could cheaper go out and pay double for a bottle of water. But air water gathering can be done when there's no bottles, or when there's no water main, or there's no truck to deliver water or whatever. Yeah. Air water gathering is a process. It could be done locally, and the water it generates is rather clean.
Yeah. And there are some places in San Diego that are already using this technology, right?
Well, as a matter of fact, I was considered I don't know what all I was considered, but many things. One of them being an extremist. When I was talking with a guy named Bob, Salty Bob, about air water generators making water to make beer.
Oh.
And yes, they are now making, Stone Brewery is making beer, not all of their beer, but some of their beer from air water gathering, air water generators. They're making beer out of thin air.
That's true.
And they're doing that in Santa Monica along with a couple other companies, Salty Dog Beer, Bob's company. And so today, or tomorrow is here today. So what I mean by that is way back when I was talking about the things that we should do, it was very progressive at the time, almost outlandish. And here we are today. We're making beer out of thin air.
Out of thin air. I love that. I love a great new technology, and I love a great beer.
They also make water out of salt water by putting these little tubes on top of the salt water, and then the sun hits the tube and it condensates, and they collect water. And there's lots of alternative methods available. There's more solutions to our drought than there are problems. That was the part. Did you catch that?
I did, yeah, solution. When you mix water with other things, you get a solution.
Right.
Some good finger guns in there. Well, I'll say cheers to that.
Cheers.
I've
to
got
that.
got a beer that's on theme.
This isn't salty dog beer, but it's good beer, and I'll drink to that. The beer and everything needs water. All people need water, and to that end, everybody has a responsibility to know as much about water, or almost as much about water, as they know about their cell phone,
Yeah.
or about their sport team, or whatever.
It's
And
one of
no
those things
disrespect
that's,
to sports, but
yeah.
you can live without sports. You can't live without water.
It's so precious, and you don't realize until you don't have access to it. Like, it's hard right now not having access to a lot of things, but imagine if we were trapped in our homes and we didn't have access to water. That would be unthinkable.
Well, unfortunately, there actually are millions of people in the world that are in that condition.
Yep. Water is so important.
Yes, essential. But I hope that with the time that people spend viewing this or studying water in the future, everyone gets to be a little more smarter. So when they vote on things that's relative to water and plumbing, that they vote with knowledge instead of a political ideology.
Yeah. There's so much to know. And if you do want to learn more all about water, grab a copy. There's so much good information in here. Greg's got a ton of knowledge that went into this. And the first couple of chapters of this are available on our website. If you go to concordbooks.com/readnow, you can check out the first couple pages. It's got a bunch of fun illustrations, like our good friend Goldie here.
The back
And the
of
book's not as intimidating as I am. It's
Yeah.
very fun.
the back of the book has a lot of resources too.
Yes. A lot of great information, and it lets you know a lot of great places you can go to get even more great information, which one of those, Greg has a YouTube channel, so if you want to learn a little bit more about water and plumbing, you can visit his YouTube channel.
Oh, that's Mike and Mac there having a beer.
Yeah.
Mike and Mac, as in micro and macro.
And macro. Yes, and they help us tell the story of water all throughout the book, so you get to meet them and their girlfriends and wives and families and see how they use water and how it impacts their lives. So they're...
And Mike always gets the first word, and Mac gets the last word.
Yes. Mac really knows what he's talking about because he has the macro view. All right. Well, was there any other burning water topics you needed to get off your brain?
Yeah, but the internet doesn't have enough bandwidth, and the clock doesn't have enough time. But I would like to say that anybody that really looks at water and plumbing, more so water, if they look into it really deeply, they will find a very fascinating substance.
Yeah, it truly is so interesting. Well, thank you for joining us, Greg, and thank all of you for joining us as well. We hope you will join us on Wednesday at noon as we read more of Moose Beach, and next Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, we'll read another book. Thanks for joining.